Welcome to chapter 5, motivation. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice to wake up every day and be motivated to do everything you were supposed to do? I mean, it is a tough thing to be motivated all the time, especially because a lot of the things we want to accomplish are hard. And it is not easy to find the motivation to do that every day. So you can imagine working in an organization how difficult it is to keep everyone motivated all of the time. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about motivation. How do you become motivated? What are the theories behind motivated? What motivates people? Why are some people, it seems like they wake up every day and they accomplish a million things, and other people have trouble just getting out of bed? Why? Like, what is going on here? Okay, so in this chapter, what you need to learn by the end of the time you've read it and you've gone through it, you should be able to define motivation and the difference between needs theories and process theories. That's a huge piece of this chapter. How Maslow's need hierarchy is related to theory X and theory Y and the ERG theory. McLean's needs for achievement, power, and affiliation theory, the role of inequality in motivation, expectancy theory of motivation, how goal setting can motivate performance, cultural differences in motivation. What is motivation? So, motivation is the process of arousing and sustaining goal-directed behavior, and it refers to the direction you're heading, the intensity that you have, and how persistent you are. And every organization loves to have motivated people. Sorry about that. Whoa. Okay, here we are. Every organization loves to have motivated people, and motivation theories attempt to explain and predict behavior, and they use this to try to increase or improve people's motivation. And motivation theories are broadly classified in two different categories: needs theories and process theories. Let's learn more about those. Okay, so like I was saying, we have needs theories and we have process theories. And these are two broad categories in which motivational theories are grouped. So needs theories of motivation give primary consideration to variables within the individual that lead towards being motivated. So they're internal things. People are motivated from the inside to get up, to do what they need to do, to continue to hard work. And what drives them is motivators are unfulfilled or they have desires, and they get out there and they start working because they want to feel better about themselves, feel better about what they've achieved, and are interested in progressing forward. They do, and in terms of what influences them is they say that needs are insufficient to provoke some type of behavioral response, and they have to be psychological and mental. Those needs often are strong enough to motivate somebody to get out of bed and accomplish what they want to accomplish. But I guess the underlying idea is they have unfulfilled needs, right? They have things that they want to accomplish and be and have in life, and they go out and they do it, and they don't need someone to tell them to show up every day. And process theories are the opposite, and they describe individual motivation as being controlled by external events. So, maybe you show up to work because you're going to get a paycheck, and you're not doing it because you love what you're doing and it makes you happy and fulfilled. It is simply you're being motivated because you need a paycheck to pay your bills, and if you don't, you're going to be homeless and living in the street, right? That is a a process theory that you are rewarded by showing up to work, by maybe getting paid, and if you don't, then the punishment is that that you won't have any money or standard of living or ability to survive. So we have needs theories and we have process theories. Those are the two broad categories of motivational theories. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever come across Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it is a well-established model that was introduced in the 40s. So Maslow created this pyramid of physiological needs, and it starts at the bottom with things like food and water and basic survival. And you can see, and he also did it in relation to who achieves what. So most people at the bottom of the pyramid are working on these physiological needs. Once those are met, you move up to safety and security needs. And those are obviously the needs for being safe and secure. And then once you have food and shelter and you feel safe and secure, people move up to love or social needs. And those are the needs to be in relationships and taken care of and those types of things. Then we move up to esteem needs, the need to feel important or recognized. So once we have the first three tiers, we get to a point where we're saying, listen, I need to do something that makes me feel important, in which I am recognized. And once you've gone through the four foundational levels, you get to the final level called self-actualization at the very top of the pyramid. And this is when you discover who you are, and you are no longer satisfied by these lower needs, that you really need to push yourself to achieve everything you have the potential to achieve. You're actually recognizing your potential. That's why they call it self-actualization. You are actually becoming the person that you are supposed to be. You are following your calling on the planet or from God or whoever, and you wake up every day and you are just motivated to do work because you are doing the work that you were supposed to do, that you were put on this planet to do. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Again, it is a widely studied model. It is widely accepted as true that they're never going to get to self-actualization until you've met all those needs below, and that they go in that order, right? You need to start with the basics and get up to one day maybe you can become everything that you strive out to be. Okay, theory X and theory Y. And it was created using Maslow's hierarchy of need, and the theories group the physiological and safety needs presented in Maslow's as lower order needs, and the social esteem and self-actualization needs as upper order needs. So we have lower order needs and upper order needs. So according to theory X and theory Y, managers categorize employees in one of two categories. Either you're an X employee or you're a Y employee. So theory X management believes that employees are motivated by the lower needs, that they are inherently lazy and that they need to avoid responsibility whenever possible, and they dislike hard work. And so this is why these are lower order needs, right? The theory X managers believe that workers need to be closely supervised and monitored using systems and processes. On the other hand, and maybe you have worked in an organization where you had a manager that was a theory X manager, right? Someone who, it was very top down. They believed that you needed to have rewards and punishments, and that they were essentially all over you, monitoring everything that you did. Theory Y supervisors, on the other hand, they believed that human beings are inherently motivated, right? That it is internal, that motivation doesn't need to come from punishments or rewards, that people are good and they're hardworking and they don't need all these external pressures to do the right thing. Okay, then came along the ERG theory. And it recognizes Maslow's contribution, understanding motivation, but it believed that the needs hierarchy failed to accurately identify and categorize human needs. And so the ERG method condenses Maslow's 5 levels into 3: existence, relatedness, and growth. And so the ERG theory added the regression hypothesis to Maslow's original progression, which suggests that people are frustrated by their inability to meet the needs at the higher levels of the hierarchy, and they regress to lower levels once that happens. So the ERG method also allows the order of different needs to different individuals. In other words, needs do not have to progress in that order, right? They don't necessarily have to start at the bottom and progress up. You know, the failing, maybe an artist is failing to meet the psychological needs and the safety needs, but they are completing the self-actualization. They are creating art that they believe in. They're fulfilling their life calling, but maybe they're not getting paid enough to pay the rent and buy food. Then came along McLean's theory. And McLean's theory of motivation focuses on personality and identifies 3 learned or acquired needs. These are the needs for achievement, the need for power, and the need for affiliation. McLean stated that all people have these 3 types of motivation in varying degrees, regardless of your culture or your gender or your age or your race. And that is one's life experience that leads to the different needs being dominant in different people. So depending on where you grew up and the society and the family and the school you went to, you might have these needs in a different order and a different degree. But everyone, regardless of where they grew up, they have the need for achievement, and that has to do with being competitive and goal oriented, and they have a need for power. They want the desire to influence others and events in the world and make a difference. And then affiliation. They have the need to maintain close relationships, be part of a community. That these 3 key variables is what motivates people. Needs theory claims that each individual needs achievement, power, and affiliation, and these are subconscious, that they aren't necessarily something that you're aware of, that some of these are underlying needs that really are beyond your conscious understanding sometimes. The other important distinction of McLean's theory is that he believes that these drivers, the need for achievement, power, and affiliation, are fixed, and people cannot influence them by doing things externally. So this whole idea of theory X, theory Y, in which you could punish people or reward people and kind of manipulate their motivation, he doesn't believe any of that. He feels like these are motivated, they're kind of set in stone, and that managers must use their knowledge of each employee to provide opportunities to meet their specific needs. That people are different and that these are fixed, and that you can't control them by either giving them rewards or enacting punishments. Okay, equity theory, and this is it is a process theory, and it proposes that motivation is a function of perceived fairness or equity, and the social exchange and the inequality of unfairness is an important motivator. The theory proposes that all members of an organization perceive that they can contribute, those are the inputs, so things like time and experience and creativity, and receive the outputs from the organization in return. And the outputs are, being paid, awards, benefits, recognition, and that this is how motivation works. That you work to contribute your time, effort, and experience, maybe creativity, and in exchange, you are given pay, award, status, and recognition. So the theory also goes on and says that it's a ratio, right? Like the people that contribute more time and more effort and more experience, they expect a perceived a better reward, or more recognition or pay or rewards, right? Or status, or all of those things. And the difference between the perceived outcomes and the perceived inputs equal the output, right? The ratio of how much have you given to the organization and what is it given back. And I don't know about you, but I have had jobs in the past where it feels like I give a lot more than I receive. And then I've also had positions and jobs where I felt like I could give more, but the output, the perceived, the perceived input was great. So I guess it's important in life to find a balance in which it is equal, right? The amount of time and effort and experience and creativity you put in, you receive the same or equal amount of output. And that brings us to the equity and inequity in organizations. So a negative inequity is it occurs when an individual perceives that they're receiving less from the organization for the same amount of input. They're putting in an equal amount of effort and they're receiving less. And some people say that maybe being a non-smoker in an organization, you might feel this way, because if you smoke, people go out 3 or 4 times a day and they spend 15 minutes smoking cigarettes, but you're paid the same amount for maybe you do an hour of extra work, right? And a positive inequity occurs when an individual perceives that they're receiving more than someone in the same organization. So I don't know, there's a big payment discrepancy between men and women here in Canada that do the equal amount of work. So maybe you feel like as a man, you're perceiving that you're getting more benefits even though you're doing the same level of work. And the most important consideration in this equity theory is that it is perceived outcome and input, right? It is not necessarily measurable. They could be non-tangible things, right? Such as your emotional investment into a job that has, it's hard to measure that. And then there's ways to change your perception of the equity and how much you're putting in. And you can alter your inputs, alter the outputs. You can maybe compare differently to other people's outputs and inputs. Like maybe the smoker, spends time out there smoking cigarettes, but then they're twice as efficient when they are working. I don't know. You can rationalize the inequality, like maybe a male is further along in their career because they've put in more hours or more years. And then I guess ultimately, if you feel like you are not being treated in an equitable manner, you can leave the organization, right? You can go somewhere else to a place that maybe you are treated more fairly or more equitably. Okay, expectancy theory. This is also a process theory. Okay, expectancy theory is exactly as it sounds. That motivation focuses on personal perception of performance, and it's a cognitive process founded on two distinct notions. First, that people expect certain outcomes of behavior and performance, which is to be thought as rewarded by the output. So the second perception is that people believe that there's a relationship between effort put forth and achievement that is achieved, or the outcome that is received, right? So I guess a better way to say it is people expect to put in a certain amount of effort, performance, and output, and in return expect a certain result. So expectancy theory proposes an individual choose a certain behavior because they expect a certain result. The motivation for behavior is determined by how much they desire the outcome, right? So an example may be that you're going to put in an extra 10 hours of work every week at your job, and your expectancy, your expectation is that when the promotion comes up, and that they're advertising maybe a manager role, that you expect to be considered for that role because you've put in a certain amount of effort, you performed well, and you have a certain level of output, and because of that, you also have expectations aligned with your performance. Okay, goal setting theory. Okay, goal setting theory is relatively straightforward, and it is well founded in a wide body of research that setting goals helps people achieve what they've set out to and helps motivate them, right? That you're setting a goal that has these 5 principles. A goal that is clear, it is challengeable, like it's challenging, you're committed to it, you receive communication on how well you're doing, and has some level of complexity. Like it's difficult. It's not the easiest thing. So there's a lot of research out there saying that if you allow your employees to set goals, they're going to be motivated to achieve those goals kind of instinctively. So you should recognize Hofstede's model here, the 6 dimensions of cultural differences. And the reason that we've brought this up in the motivation chapter is that individual managers and organizations, that you have to be aware of cultural variables, especially when it comes to individualism and collectivism, right? And the power distance before implementing the motivational strategies, because depending on where people grow up and where they are raised, different things are going to motivate them, right? If you come up in an individualistic society, achieving individual goals and milestones will be really important, and you want to maybe motivate people individually. And if you are in a more of a collective type of culture, or someone's from that background, it's more about teamwork and achieving goals as an organization. So all of these theories should be considered through the lens of what culture people are in, right? And this is where it makes it very challenging in Canada with all the different. So you have to be aware that, you know, if you're dealing with people from a collective type of culture, that if you try to implement individually based incentive plans, that's not going to go over well. Okay, there was a ton of information in this chapter, a number of theories that are going to take some time to read through the material in the textbook to thoroughly understand the differences. If you have any questions about any of this information, please, as always, don't hesitate to reach out and ask.